Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video this Monday evening. I hope you've been having a marvelous day thus far, but another evening, another tropical depression has developed. So that is right, we have a new tropical cyclone to watch out there, which is a threat to land. It was previously known as Invest 91L. So we'll be looking at the latest coming from the National Hurricane Center as well as some model data, and we'll also be focusing on Tropical Storm Franklin, which is a threat to parts of the Caribbean and is likely to become a hurricane. Now, before I go into details, please do subscribe if you haven't yet done so and tap the bell so that you never miss an important update. And of course, guys, I'm here to keep you posted on all that is happening. I post updates twice a day now, and let's get straight into what's going on. So we'll return into this satellite imagery, and there we can see a lot of activity going on in the Gulf of Mexico. Now, that is in association with our new depression, previously known Invest 91L, and that should eventually become Herald. But there's a couple things about it. So we know that the Gulf is notorious for producing some very violent storms that rapidly intensify, but that doesn't seem as though it will be the outcome for this system, and I will go into why in a moment. But there we have Franklin. We also want to delve into the latest. And we also have Gert out there. Emily has become post-tropical. And then we have Invest 92L, which we could see develop as we head into the end of this week. As a matter of fact, models have been showing something interesting. Could 92L manage to make its way on somewhat of a continuous westward track and eventually over into the Gulf and become something major? The 12Z GFS has been depicting that sort of scenario, which is not at all guaranteed. But we still want to watch the system for any potential track to land over the next several days. And other areas we want to watch include the South Caribbean and also the Gulf of Mexico, particularly for the Bay of Campeche, aside from our new tropical depression, of course. And so let's delve into that new depression number 9. As I said, it is expected to become Herald. Most available models are expecting that it will become a weak tropical storm. There we have that green shaded area, and then there we have the time, the forecast hours. So as we head into 24 hours, which is a day, 48 hours, 2 days, 72 hours, 3 days, and so on. And then we have the wind speed in a knot. So we see that green shaded area, and that represents tropical storm force winds. And the higher up we see these lines go, the stronger the system is expected to be. But we're not seeing that. It barely makes it past this line here, which indicates that it is not going to be strengthening much. Let's go on to the satellite imagery, and here we can see that the system is producing quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity, and it is really trying to get itself together, but it has limited time. So it is moving rather quickly toward the west, and it is not in a highly conducive environment. So as such, I'm not expecting any crazy intensification coming from this, because the Gulf is known for producing some very, very significant hurricanes in a very short amount of time. But I'm not expecting this to undergo very major intensification. Nevertheless, it is going to be producing tropical storm conditions in portions of southern Texas, and as such, we have those watches and warnings in place. So let's go on to the cone forecast now. So the tropical storm warning, that is in blue, that is in effect for the mouth of Rio Grande to Port O'Connor in Texas, and the tropical storm watch is in yellow, which indicates that tropical storm conditions are possible typically within 48 hours, but within this case here for the next 12 to 24 hours. So in those areas going from Port O'Connor to Sargent in Texas, there might be tropical storm conditions, those strong winds, maybe a bit of storm surge as well. But the main concern is going to be the heavy rainfall also for northern Mexico. So a lot of rainfall likely there, up to 10 inches of rainfall, and there'll also be that possibility for landslides in those more hilly areas as well. When there's a lot of rainfall, the soil gets very saturated, there's more weight added to it. So because it is getting so heavy, it can't hold itself up for much longer. It just tears away from that slope it is on. So that is a major concern as well. And we see here that the system is not expected to last long. So it should become a tropical storm Herald as it approaches the Gulf Coast. But once it moves inland, it will be cut off from its source of energy. So as a result, it is going to rapidly disintegrate. But nevertheless, it is going to be taking in that rainfall along with with it unleashing those heavy downpours across some areas. But now we want to go on to Tropical Storm Franklin in the Caribbean. So as we look at the map of the region here, we can see that Franklin is the main feature, but we see lots of showers and thunderstorms in parts of the southern Caribbean, as well as the southwest Caribbean, near Central and Northern South America. But for most other areas, there isn't a whole lot happening. As we look to the Lesser Antilles, just as I mentioned yesterday, we would see improved weather today, and that is exactly what it has been like for many areas. But going from around Guadeloupe northward to Anguilla, even across Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, even down in the ABC Islands, so those areas have likely been feeling impacts from Franklin through today. And even for parts of the Dominican Republic, those outer bands are kind of moving in, maybe bringing some brief showers and overcast weather with them. This is nothing. This is the smoke to the fire, especially for the Dominican Republic, because a lot of flooding is likely. Rainfall amounts up to 15 inches in some areas will be possible as we head to tomorrow evening and night, going into Wednesday and even into Thursday as well. Some of that activity could still be lingering around. Let's go on to what the National Hurricane Center has. So as of the latest update, we still have that tropical storm warning in effect for most of the southern coast of Hispaniola. So a lot of heavy rainfall is likely, but Franklin is being shared right now. What does that mean? So those winds, and higher up as we go into the atmosphere, those winds are coming in the opposite direction and kind of displacing that activity. So what we're seeing now, let's go back to the satellite imagery real quick. The center is somewhere right here. So we can see that over the western side of the system is not producing as much activity. So as such, Haiti might be spared from the worst of it, but nevertheless, there could still be some flooding across some areas. That is the major concern. So even though there will be those strong winds, which might cause a couple of downed trees and power lines, the water is going to be the issue. The extensive flooding. And by the way, because of the terrain of Hispaniola, those mountainous regions, there is going to be more rainfall compared to if it was flat. So what happens is that all this moist air moving in meets upon the mountains and it is forced to rise. It can't go through the mountains, so it rises. As it does so, it cools and condenses to form clouds. Let's think about the water cycle for a moment, because that is really what's happening. So it cools, condenses to form clouds, and eventually we get more rain. So areas that are very mountainous with these oncoming tropical systems tend to experience a lot more rainfall, and that is going to be the case here with Franklin. So a lot of heavy rainfall is going to be enhanced across the island, and as such, guys, please ensure that you're taking the necessary precautions and staying safe. As this bears down, of course, I'll keep you posted with all that's happening. And then there is also Puerto Rico, which could experience some periods of heavy rainfall, not nearly as bad as what the Dominican Republic is expected to experience. And then that tropical storm watch is also in effect for the Turks and Caicos Islands. So as we head into early Thursday, there could be tropical storm conditions felt across the islands. And then eventually Franklin could strengthen into a hurricane once it encounters more favorable conditions as we head to Saturday. But what does it do after this point? Does it head toward the southeastern U.S.? Will it be a problem for Bermuda? Only time will tell, but I'm here to keep you guys posted. I'll keep track of this system. And so that is pretty much it for this update. And of course, if you're to be affected, if you're under a watch or warning, please listen to your local officials and ensure that the necessary preparations are in place. Time is running out with both systems, both Depression 9, which should become Herald very soon, and Franklin. And so guys, that is it for this update. And I hope you found it to be informative. But if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll respond as best and as soon as I can. And as always, remember to be wise.